It's the golden anniversary of the Super Bowl, and it's a new school versus old school matchup. Can Cam Newton finalize his MVP and record-setting season by hoisting the Lombardi Trophy? Or will Peyton Manning be able to ride off into the sunset, sitting on top of the world, like his Denver protégé once did? It's time to preview Super Sunday, and for that, I turn to Anthony Stalter of 101 ESPN Radio in St. Louis, as he helped me preview this most intriguing matchup. So, first of all, Anthony, we want to welcome you to the Two-Man Advantage Podcast, and we're excited to talk some football with you this morning.
Yeah, Kevin, I appreciate you having me on. It's my pleasure, and I love football more than any other sport, so I'm fired up for Super Bowl 50.
Join the club, no admission, okay? So when we look at the game this Sunday, obviously we'll have two drastic styles between Cam Newton and Peyton Manning. So I'm just wondering your initial thoughts on what we'll see in Sunday's matchup.
Well, Kevin, it's interesting. Peyton Manning has taken a lot of negative heat because of his kind of deteriorating skills. And so many people are focused on how he can't throw the ball deep anymore. He doesn't throw a catchable pass. He can't play in cold weather. He can't play in windy weather. I mean, you can roll down the list there. That's Peyton Manning. On the other side, I think everybody has started to appreciate what Cam Newton brings to the table. And really, because of his dynamic skill set, not only as a passer but as a runner, he really forces defenses to play 11-on-11 football. I mean, He's going to require a defense to account for all 11 players. That's what mobile quarterbacks do. But one thing that I think is getting overlooked with Cam Newton is the fact that he can beat you from the pocket too, and it's just like Russell Wilson in that regard. These aren't the Michael Vicks where Michael Vick was a dynamic athlete and had a big arm, but he didn't really ever progress as that pocket passer. Either couldn't stay healthy or he wasn't in the right system to highlight some of his strengths. Newton, Russell Wilson, these are different players. So I think that you're going to see, you get the contrasting styles between Manning and Newton, and of course you also have kind of the new school quarterback, so to speak, versus the old school.
Now, when we look besides the quarterback matchups, what are some other matchups that you're most intrigued to watch, or what are some other subplots we should keep an eye on during the game?
Well, I think Denver, Kevin, I think Denver's defense is really being overlooked. Yes, Carolina, their offense is multiple. They run, their run game concepts are some of the most complex yet dynamic I have ever seen. I mean, Cam Newton can hit you with a read option with Jonathan Stewart as his option back, or they can run power O on you with a lead guard or a lead fullback for Stewart. I mean, they're really impressive. But Denver, their defense, I mean, the Broncos didn't get here by accident. Everybody talks about how limited Peyton Manning is. Well, they've also had an inconsistent running game. They have really good skill position players at receiver, but they're drop prone, and yet they're going to play in the Super Bowl on Sunday. That's because, in large part, of their defense. They have the athletes to contain Newton. They have Von Miller, DeMarcus Ware that can rush the passer. Derek Wolfe has been outstanding in creating pressure up the middle. They have a couple of really good linebackers in Trevathan and Brandon Marshall that can cover. You saw that in the AFC title game. And they have a safety in T.J. Ward that can help in run support. And what that does, if you're Wade Phillips, you can walk T.J. Ward up to the box and have 8 men in the box. And now you have the run support to contain Cam Newton. He also has great cornerbacks, 3 of them, in Aqib Talib, Chris Harris, and Bradley Roby. So, long story long, Denver has the defensive weapons to slow down Carolina, and so much attention is being paid to Peyton Manning, and I think that's an interesting subplot in how Wade Phillips is going to counter Cam Newton and Mike Shula.
Now, when you look at Carolina, they scored the most points in history of the NFC Championship game against Arizona. So I'm wondering, you talked about the number one scoring defense for Denver. So I'm wondering if you think they'll have enough to stop Cam Newton in order to win.
Well, I think if they fall behind early, they could be in trouble because of what we talked about with Peyton Manning. He's not going to be Russell Wilson and throw the Broncos back into the game like Wilson did in the divisional round. But I think that while Arizona's defense is good and Seattle's defense is great, Seattle was in too big of a hole to get back against Carolina, and then Arizona kept turning the ball over. I mean, they were going to win after 7 turnovers. So again, I think that Denver does have the ability, because of their playmakers, to slow down Carolina or at least contain them. You go back to the one loss that the Panthers had against Atlanta this year. Carolina was without Jonathan Stewart. They had a banged-up Ginn. They had a banged-up Greg Olsen. But Atlanta did a nice job of containing Newton as opposed to just rushing him. And I think Denver will have a similar game plan.
Now, when we look at the criticism that Cam Newton has received, he called himself incomparable to anyone else. So I'm just wondering your general thoughts on that statement and the criticism that Newton has received.
Well, Cam Newton came out a couple days ago and said that he wanted to clarify his remarks. His remarks didn't have anything to do with race, and Cam Newton can speak for himself. I think what's really interesting about what Newton said, and just not really even what Newton said, but some of the criticism that he has had, he's a successful guy. I mean, he has reached the Super Bowl in a short period of time. I know he's been in the league since 2011 or whatever it's been, but it's really quick to get to the Super Bowl. And I think here, in America, when teams have a lot of success or players have a lot of success and they're a little flashy like Newton is, I think people want to kind of see them humbled a little bit. You look at the Patriots; they've won for a long time. They have become kind of hated, unless you're in Foxborough. The Yankees, for all that time, they became hated after winning. Boston, everybody was on their bandwagon in 2004 when the Red Sox won the World Series. When they got back in 2007, people were already tired of them. They're already sick of them. They were sick of the Red Sox nation and all of that. I think that's part of what makes sports fun and great is you have people and teams that you root for, and you have people and teams that you root against. So I think while race could play into the criticism of Cam Newton for some people, not for everybody, I also think some people just feel as though if you're not an underdog, I'm gonna root against you, and maybe that's where Cam Newton is.
Now, in your opinion, who's this game more important to in terms of Peyton Manning or Cam Newton? Because you look at Peyton Manning, it's not what it used to be in terms of throwing the ball over the allot. But who, in your opinion, is this game more important to for legacy reasons?
Well, I think that the game is obviously important to both sides. Cam Newton's going for his first one. Peyton Manning's going for his second. What I find is ironic. If Peyton Manning and the Broncos win on Sunday, it won't be because Peyton Manning did Peyton Manning-like things. Does that make sense? I mean, it's not Peyton Manning of old where he's going to throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's going to be because he managed the game, quote unquote. He didn't turn the ball over. They played great defense and they ran the ball. It's such a stark contrast from where Peyton Manning was in previous Super Bowls when the focus was all on him on the field too. Now, the focus is obviously on him off the field, but look, here's reality. Let's be real. The defense and the running game are going to be what carries the Broncos, not Peyton Manning. I don't think that Peyton Manning has to be great for 4 quarters. I think he's got to be great for 2 or 3 drives, just like he was against Pittsburgh and just like he was 2 weeks ago against the Patriots in the AFC title game. Play good defense, run the ball. Peyton, don't turn the ball over, and then when you get in the red zone, throw a couple to Owen Daniels. That is the formula. And if, going back to his legacy, if they do that, you can't say anything. He's already a legend. He's already a legend. But I think he can cement his legacy even more because nobody's going to say anything if he gets 2 Super Bowl victories. In fact, people are going to be talking about how many Super Bowls could he have won if Tom Brady and the Patriots weren't combating him all those years.
Now, in your opinion, who has the coaching edge for this Super Bowl?
Well, I'll be honest, I don't know. And the only reason why I say it is because Mike Shula and Ron Rivera, they were criticized a couple of years ago. I mean, Carolina fans, they wanted Jerry Richardson to run Ron Rivera right out of town because he wasn't getting it done, and they thought that both him and Mike Shula were ruining Cam Newton's career. And now you look at him, Mike Shula has become a masterful play caller. He knows the offense and his players like the back of his hand. He's so good when it comes to calling plays, almost like painting a picture where he gets into a flow and he calls just the right exact plays at the right time. And Rivera has done, Riverboat Ron, he's got that moniker now. Rivera's done a great job of being aggressive. But on the other side, look, Gary Kubiak was the man that was handpicked by John Elway to replace John Fox. Kubiak does a tremendous job in getting his players ready to go during practice for game situations. They practice to what they're going to face in the game. And it's simple, but it's a technique that I don't think head coaches use enough. It's like, hey, we're going to put you in spots that you're going to be faced with on Sundays, not just we're going to run a bunch of drills because we think we're going to get ready that way. So Kubiak does that well, and he's got Wade Phillips, a defensive coordinator that has seen everything. He has, anything that Mike Shula is going to throw at him on Sunday, he has already faced because he's been around the leagues for so long. So I don't think there's a head coaching matchup that there's an advantage either way. I think this is just going to be a well-coached game throughout.
Now, simply, who do you think is going to win the game on Sunday?
I like Carolina, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout, Kevin. I think that it's going to be a closer game than many expect. I see the Panthers not getting out to that big lead like they have over the last couple of playoff games now, and the Broncos keeping it close. So if you're in Vegas this weekend, I like the Broncos to cover the 6 points, but I could see Carolina winning.